Hi there, YouTube. Oh gosh, okay. I'm very tired. But the sun is out. Yay! Oh gosh. We have been getting some sun lately, which is nice. I think we're supposed to get snow tomorrow. It's been very, very, very windy lately. So when I got back to well, today is Monday. Did I just say that? I literally don't even know if I just said that. I swear to God. Woo! Yep, today's Monday. When I got back to my apartment last night, I did work until close here at the club last night. I just got to the club now. I just parked. I did work 10 hours last night until closing time. And I did 2 videos yesterday. I was saying in those videos, I was like, oh gosh, is today the Super Bowl? I really didn't know exactly. I thought it might be, but turns out that it was. And so yeah, that was exciting, kind of. Not really, but I don't really follow sports, but we did have footballs at the club, and I was very tempted throughout the shift to just huck one across the room, you know, like kind of go along. That was really tempting. But I didn't end up doing that. I really wanted to, but if I had done that, I would have had to make sure to throw it away from the bar area with all of the glasses dangling from the ceiling. Anyways, when I got back to my apartment last night, my thermostat said that it was under 50 degrees, which that's the first time I've seen it that low. That's the lowest that I've seen it so far. This is my 4th winter without the heat on, and the lowest I've seen it up until now was kind of hovering just at 50. It used to actually stay around 60 a few years ago without the heat on, and then the past couple of years, it's for whatever mysterious reason gone like 5 to 10 degrees, more like 7 or 8 to 10 degrees below that, down to 50. And then last night it was a couple of times a few weeks ago, I had noticed it hovering right at the 50, maybe like 49.5. But last night it was like definitely actually under 50, like 48, 49. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. I'm just gonna try not to look at it anymore. I've tried doing that in the past. A couple of months ago, I had that area, I had the thermostat covered with like an empty box, like just a little cardboard box. Honestly, I think it was an empty macaroni and cheese box, because I have a dresser near it, so I could kind of wedge the box between the dresser and the wall to cover the thermostat. So not that long ago, I was really making a point to just not look at it, to not like psych myself out with the numbers, you know, because I feel like that can definitely happen, especially for me. So as I adjust my rubber band to try to cover the view count at the top of my screen right now, yeah, I don't like numbers. But I don't know. Then a little while ago, I occasionally started checking behind the mac and cheese box just to kind of occasionally glance at the thermostat to see what it said. And one of the times a few weeks ago when I was doing that, the box fell, and it kind of like fell behind the dresser to where it was, I still could have gotten it, but it was behind the dresser to where I was just like, I guess feeling too lazy to bother to try to get it, because there's a bunch of other stuff like
kind of crammed into that area. So after that fell back there, I kind of just left it. And it's been like that for, I don't know, maybe a few weeks or a month now. And so for a little while now, I've just been like obsessively checking the thermostat and seeing what temperature it says. And the area where it is, anytime that I go to the kitchen or the bathroom in my apartment, so basically anytime I go into any area of my apartment that's not like where my bed is or my beds are, I have 2 beds actually. But anytime I go to like any other parts of my apartment, I'm walking right by that area where the thermostat is. So with it not being covered for a while, I was kind of just not able to stop myself from almost obsessively checking it. So last night, after I saw that it had actually dipped below 50 now, I'm like, okay, enough of that. And I found a different box, another empty cardboard box, wedged it in between the dresser and the wall like I had done with the previous box before, and now it's covered up again. And honestly, I intend to just never look at it again. I'm just like, I'm never gonna move that box. I'm never gonna look at it. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. I just don't, whatever. It's cold, it's cold. I'm not interested. Like, and I was saying recently, I actually just got off the phone with my electric company because my electric bills lately have still been over $50 despite me not ever putting the heat on. I basically, at my apartment, I use the microwave quite a bit, and I use the stove sparingly. I use the stove maybe a few times a day. Sometimes I don't even put it on at all for a day or two. That's pretty much my only source of heat, really. So, but I mean, just with my electric bill still being over $50, I'm trying to use the stove as little as possible, because it makes a difference, but not enough. I'm just over it. I'm not paying over $50 for electric to be as cold as I am. It's freezing in my apartment. It is freezing. It is freezing. You know, it's like to where I'm pretty much in tears. Like, it's cold. It's really, really bad. It's very, very painful. Not a nice way to exist in the world for sure, but it's just too expensive for me. So, oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous. So I was saying in my video yesterday how I'm starting to, instead of obsessively checking my thermostat, I am instead going to be obsessively checking the meter readings outside on the building, to see what actual kilowattage I'm at every single day, because I clearly can't trust my electric company to be accurate whatsoever. I know that the bills that I'm getting, they can't possibly be correct, or there's just something going on there. So I made a point to see what my wattage was at yesterday when I left. Actually, I don't even have to look at my notes. Off the top of my head, the kilowattage that I was at yesterday, I actually had to shovel a pathway to go see the meter on that side of the building. But I did it, and my wattage yesterday was 0.9966. I was saying in my video yesterday that I was going to be checking the meter when I got back to my apartment last night. I did actually forget to do that, unsurprisingly, because, you know, when I get out of work, usually it's the middle of the night, early morning hours, so it's very cold and very dark out. You know, it's the middle of the night. And not only that, but I have like 5 or 6 huge heavy bags that I'm lugging around with me. My arms are just completely, it's like a 360 degrees. I'm surrounded by these big heavy bags to where I couldn't carry another thing. It's like, it's a lot of stuff. And last night in particular, I had last week I had 9 cans, like cans of soup or cans of like fruit, just canned goods, really heavy canned goods. So last week I had 9, but last night I had 13 cans of like soups, and mostly soup, and I think a couple of things of fruit. But because I had gone to 3 different, was it 3? No, I had gone to 2 different stores before I came into work yesterday. I went to Walmart and the Dollar Tree, and I got 13 cans of stuff. So when I was going back up to my apartment last night, it is on a bit of a hill as well. And then my apartment is up a couple flights of stairs after that. So I'm lugging with me like 4 heavy bags plus 2 or 3 additional heavy bags of groceries as well with the 13 cans. So, and for me to try to even see the meter reading in the dark like that, I would have had to have gotten my phone out of my bag, put the flashlight on. So I can't do that when I have as many heavy bags in my hands as I do with that kind of thing. Like I said, I couldn't have one additional thing to carry at that point. I'm completely maxed out. So, and for me to try to do that without dropping my phone in the snow, I don't know. I mean, with the pants that I'm wearing now, if I can try to remember to do that later tonight, I'll probably still try to do it if I can remember, because the pants that I'm wearing now have pockets. So I guess it would be maybe a little bit more possible for me to just take my phone out, use the flashlight, and then put it back in my pocket. Whereas last night, I wasn't wearing these pants, and the pants that I was wearing did not have pockets. So there was really just no way for me to check the meter last night. However, I did remember to check it earlier today, and I was really, really like beating it into my head, like, do not forget to check that meter. So lo and behold, I remembered to check it. I'm very proud of myself for that. And it was at, dun dun dun, 0.9967. So exactly 1 kilowatt over what it was yesterday. So between the hours of whenever I got back from work earlier this morning and now, I put the stove on, I think twice and maybe 3 times. I did write this down in a notebook, a different set of notes back at my place. It was 1 kilowatt difference. So I used 1 kilowatt apparently. And I just called my electric company, and apparently every kilowatt of electricity that I use there costs 13 cents. So up until I called today, I didn't actually know the exact price per kilowatt. Whereas now I know it's 13 cents, and that for me is, I want to think, a pretty easy number to remember, you know, just because it's like a popular number kind of being like unlucky. So 13, I think I can remember that. And regardless, I did write that down. I tried to talk a little bit about switching my electric supplier, because apparently the people that I've been getting my electric from so far up until now, they have been my supplier, but they also like do the delivery of it. Whereas I guess there is an option to have it be supplied by a different company, and it would still be delivered by the same people, like the same company that's been doing it so far. But it's all very confusing to me. I really have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm trying to do research as best I can, because this really sucks. I just can't believe my bill's over $50, and for me to be as cold as I am there, it's freezing. Over $50 for me to use the stove maybe once or twice a day, if that, and the microwave a few times. Like, that's just, there's a couple little LED light bulbs besides that. There's really nothing else that I can think of. But I am going to be obsessively checking that meter day and night every single time that I'm outside the building. I'm just going to keep checking it and keep checking it and keep calling them and keep telling them that we're not doing estimations with me. I'm going to be as exact as I can, because I can't afford this stuff. And even if I could, I wouldn't be willing to spend the money on this ridiculous crap. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, I can barely breathe right now. I'm so stuffed up. I don't know if you guys can probably tell, anybody watching this, like, it feels like I have a cold. Like, this side of my nose is completely plugged up. I'm very allergic to this disgusting smoke stuff that they completely drown out the club in. It's just a living nightmare, honestly. It's awful. They actually weren't using it last night, but they seemed to use it the most on Friday and Saturday nights. So yeah, last night was Sunday. So it's so bad and it's so toxic that it lingers in the air from Friday, because in Friday and Saturday nights or whenever they have it on, it's on nonstop, just a continuous flow for like a long time, long periods of time. I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours. We're open an additional hour later than we usually are on Friday and Saturday nights. We're open an extra hour later than that, or than usual. So yeah, it's a lot of smoke, and apparently it just lingers from Friday and Saturday night into Sunday. So even though they technically didn't have it on last night, there was still so much accumulated in the air from the previous nights of this weekend, and just years and years of it, I guess, that it's like I'm still feeling the effects of it, and like I can't breathe. It's so gross. My nose was like dripping yesterday when I was working here. It's basically like I have a cold when I don't even actually have a cold. Like, I'm not sick. I know when I have a cold. I know when I'm sick, and I'm not sick right now. I don't have a cold right now. This is just from that disgusting stuff. This is just that allergy. So it's great. It's like being forced to feel sick when I'm not even sick. Anyways, I was happy that I was able to post 2 videos yesterday. However, I was not able to add thumbnails to either of those, and I have also not watched either of those back yet. I guess, yet again, I kind of jinxed things a bit by speaking them out loud yesterday when I was talking about how the storage on my phone is full. So with the storage on my phone being full, I usually can't open my camera app to take new pictures. But up until last night, I had still been able to take screenshots from my YouTube videos to at least get thumbnails that way. But I guess since I mentioned it, something heard me say that, and some kind of mystery app out there heard me speak it. And now oh my God, my nose is so stuffed up. This is so disgusting. And now I can't take screenshots either. So I'm just gonna have to yet again go back through my phone and delete all these old pictures that I don't want to delete. You know, it's great not being able to access my own work. These are my own pictures, so there's just not enough storage space to load the old pictures. And it's like, well, how would they have even been able to be on my phone in the first place? Like, I'm not buying it, literally and figuratively. I'm not buying it. I kind of want to blow my nose in this random sock right now because whatever. Sorry. I'm so past the point of caring about a lot of things. It's just so awful. So I was looking through pictures last night. I was talking recently about how, you know, the club was closed for COVID for 2020. And when we reopened in August of that year, I was no longer to go upside down in the pole for a little while. Before that stuff happened and before the club closed, I'm pretty sure it was like early March. So earlier that year of 2020, I was in an excellent place physically. I was in shape, and I was really, really proud of how I looked and how I felt. And then COVID happened and the club was closed for 5 months. And when we reopened in August, I tried to go upside down in the pole like I had been so many times before that. Wasn't able to do it for like a month or so after we reopened, and I was devastated. But I really, really pushed myself with diet and exercise to try to get back into the kind of shape that I had been previously before that all went down and happened. And I did do pretty well with it, but that mysteriously got deleted by someone or something other than myself. So unfortunately, I don't have those notes to go back and look back on to remind myself of what exactly I did. Although I do pretty much remember just from memory logs in my head. I mean, I can remember pretty well anyways, besides like a general gist of what I did back then to try to get back in shape. But it still would be nice. I'd still would like to be able to look back at those log entries and stuff that I had thought to jot down or type out online. But anyways, so part of when I did eventually manage to get back to going upside down in the pole back in August or September, October of 2020, something that I was trying to do quite a bit was go upside down in the pole with my pom-poms that I have. So I do like little tricks with pom-poms on the pole. And because it was the Super Bowl last night, I did manage to do that. I did that again for the first time in a while, I think last week. But then, yeah, since it was the Super Bowl last night, I did make a point to do that again. And my dancer friend Paris was at the club last night, and she actually was able to get a picture of me doing that. So, or a few pictures actually. So that was really nice of her. And I would like to try to post them, but again, with the storage issue on my phone, I'm not really too sure how to try to do that, because I don't think I can download them to my picture collection or my picture app from her text message. So I don't think I would be able to upload them to my YouTube just from her text message or the text message app. Or I don't know. I really just have to go back and probably just delete some old stuff to try to make at least a little more storage space for new stuff, or at least some new stuff. Because yeah, I mean, honestly, one of my favorite parts of doing my videos is getting the thumbnails. And I prefer to just try to get new thumbnails of like new current pictures from those same videos. But even if or when that's not the case, if or when I'm not able to do that, I would also like to have the option to use older pictures like from previous years. Because, you know, like just being honest, I just keep getting older, and most of my favorite work and my favorite pictures are from many, many years ago, back when I was looking better, feeling better, younger, in better shape, less beat up, etc. Like that's just logical, being honest, like it makes sense. One of the few things that actually makes sense to me. So yeah, I would really, really, really like, I really, 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 really want to be able to post a lot of my older pictures and videos on my YouTube here. Partly as thumbnails, but even just in the post section or just to post wherever I can put them. I really want to try to, especially after looking through some of the stuff last night, because I kind of already knew that I was able to get back in pretty good shape after COVID. So like the later months of 2020, after the club had reopened in August, yeah, pretty much like September, October, November, December, the rest of that year, I was back into really good shape. And not only that, but I'm pretty sure I actually got into better shape than I had been previously. And I didn't really remember that part of it until looking back further into more pictures last night. The pictures that I was looking at last night, a lot of those were from, I think, 2021. So, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those were like earlier 2021. So going into the next year after that stuff had been happening. But oh my gosh, you guys, the pictures that I was finding in those folders, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I couldn't believe that that used to be me. That was actually me in those pictures. I just can't believe it. The pictures that Paris got of me with the pom-poms last night, yes, I was really excited to be able to get those pictures, but they're just not the same as the pictures from years ago. I'm just not in the kind of shape that I was back then. I had a really messed up situation with a couple of the DJs that used to be working here years ago back then at that time. And it was a very, very dark time, very, very dark times and dark years for me. Very, very difficult, confusing, painful situations for me. But I will say there were some okay sides of it, and one of the okay sides of those times was I was probably in the best shape of my life. I mean, looking back at those pictures, I just can't believe what I'm looking at, and I just can't believe that that was me in those pictures. And it really is very, it's an additional slap in the face though, that I can't really fully access those pictures to post them. I mean, they're my pictures, it's my work, it's on my phone, and I'm unable to access them. But this is just another one of those kind of things apparently where I'm just gonna have to keep pushing, keep trying, and not give up. I'll go to the phone store, I'll go to the Apple store, I'll call whatever companies I need to call, I'll go to whatever businesses I need to go to in person. I'm going to gain access to those pictures without being forced to spend more of my own money on more of my own product and more of my own work, because that's my work. And it was already on my phone. Like all these years, it's already been on my phone. There's absolutely no logical or reasonable explanation as to why all of a sudden those pictures were on my phone for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden they're just unable to be accessed or downloaded properly. It's not a download. It's not something to download. They've been there the whole time. Like, it makes no sense. So I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop trying until I gain access back to those pictures, because they're my pictures, they're my work. So, and I want to post them, and I will post them. I am so proud of those pictures. And when I look at those pictures, I just can't believe I mean, obviously, like I said, I can't believe that that's me in those pictures, that it was me, or that it is me, or it was me, depending on how you look at it. But I just can't believe, like, there till now, the devastation that I feel, like being how I am now compared to how I was then. But also, I just can't wrap my mind around how awful of a situation I was really in during those times when those pictures were being taken. I look at those pictures and I just think, the person in those pictures deserves to have the best sugar daddies in the world that the world has to offer, and not even in like a sexual way, but just in like a supportive way. Like, I shouldn't have to feel forced to do things that I don't want to do, to push my boundaries. You know, I have sexual trauma. Like, I don't want to be sexually active. I don't want to have to force myself or push myself to do things that I hate and that I really actively despise and don't want to have to do. I don't look down on that kind of stuff for other people if that's what they want to do. I don't think sexuality is bad. I don't think that stuff like that is bad. It's part of life, and I absolutely, appreciate and support those options for other people, again, if that's what they want to do. But for me personally, because of all the trauma that I have and the horrible experiences that I've had with just so many people and so many things, it's like, I just want to be able to get some kind of support, especially financial support, without having to push myself to do things I don't want to do. So, and when I look at those pictures, I'm like, the person in those pictures, I know how hard I worked to get those pictures and to be where I was in those pictures. And I know what I was going through during those times. When those pictures were being taken, I was fighting off a panic attack almost every single day, almost every single night. I was being extorted and abused and harassed and just tormented in so many various ways. And I still am to this day. And, but back then, especially with what was going on with the DJs that used to work here at the club during those times, and just what was going on in that situation, I look back at those pictures and I'm like, I can't believe the person in those pictures was going through what they went through, rather than being like supported and loved and cherished and admired. And because I love and cherish and support and admire the person in those pictures. At this point, I don't even feel like it was me anymore. I can't even really believe or accept that that's actually me in those pictures, because I just look and feel so different now. And I can't dance the way that I used to dance back, like I was dancing in those pictures and those videos. I wish I had gotten more videos back then. I really didn't even get that many videos back then. Just a handful, and that small handful I can't even access right now. Haven't been able to access for a while. As long as I live, I will never understand. I will never accept. I will never get over knowing that kind of potential, that kind of talent that I had in those days, at those times. Even now, you know, not as much now, but still now, you know, but especially back then. I'll never get over it. I will never stop thinking about it. I'll never stop talking about it ever. Till the day that I die, I will never, ever, 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 ever stop thinking about these things. Stop talking about them. I will never let it go. I will never give it up. Because that is unacceptable and that is disgusting and disgraceful on a level that I could never put into words. I could keep talking about this from this moment now until the day that I die. It would never be enough. I could never put it into words. That person in those pictures and the work that I was doing, how hard I was working for that and for those times, like, it is just despicable, absolutely despicable, and just so unbelievably unacceptable to me where I was at besides that, like where I was at as far as the situation that I was in, the way that I was being treated, the lack of support, again, the harassment, the extortion, the abuse. And that was in the midst of 2020 as well, on top of all that. So that was me in my early 30s. I'm going into my early 30s. The world is becoming even more of this just absolute wasteland of devastation all around me, in the middle of what I was already going through here at the club with those DJs and like just so many other factors. It's just despicable. It could never be put into words, but I'll never give up trying until the day that I die to put it into words as best I can, because again, I'll just never get over it. It's not something to get over or to even try to get over. I'm not even going to try to get over it, because that's not the way to go about it. That's not what I'm going to try to do. I will try to avenge myself, and I will keep doing that again as long as I live. Every breath, everything that I do, it is to avenge the person in those pictures, in those videos. The person, they did not deserve that to any extent. They deserve so much better, so much more, so much better. Like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe, and it's like, I do forget, and then looking at those pictures, I'm like, holy crap. Like, I just can't believe it. I just can't wrap my head around it. Never will. Never have, never will. The person in those pictures deserved the utmost support, just the best of the best, really. Maybe not the literal best of the best, but damn close to it. You know, a lot better than I was in. Bad situations during those times. Again, almost every single shift I was doing at the club, it was an entire shift, hours and hours and hours of trying to fight off a panic attack. Horrendous treatment. I was giving away almost every dollar that I made, 90 to 95% of my income. I was actually making at least a little bit of something back then compared to now, where it's basically nothing. Back then, everything that I was making here, I was giving away to those DJs that were horrendous to me. Horrendous. It was a terrible situation, and I will never get over it. And it's not something that I should ever try to get over. Not even going to bother trying, because that's not the way to go about it. That's not the way, no. Not even going to try. It's the opposite. It's the opposite of trying to get over it. I will not allow myself to even begin to try or to get over it. I'm not going to get over it. I'm not going to allow myself to even try to go there. I will never give up trying to avenge myself, ever, for that. For those times, and even for now. This is technically still going on now, because I'm sitting here talking about this, barely being able to breathe, you know, because this smoke stuff is still being used here, overused, and just in a disgusting, horrendous way. Oh, not as bad as back then, but still bad enough to where it's life destroying, really, you know. I'm still sitting here talking about it, or trying to talk about it, barely being able to breathe, and not being able to access my work, not being able to access those pictures, not being able to access those videos, my own work on my own phone. Unacceptable. absolutely, it's just beyond disgusting in a way that is just no words. No words. So yeah, I did my trick on the pole with the pom-poms pretty much right away when I first got here to the club yesterday. No warm-up, because I knew that in order to try to get a picture, the best time to try to do that would probably be before people actually came in, like customers and stuff. So yeah, you know, on par with how things usually tend to go here, the start of the shift was especially slow. There were really no customers for a while at first, but I did see my dancer friend Paris. So there was another dancer already on the stage, like trying to warm up. But so I was kind of like really getting anxious and like, oh, like I really want to go on, because normally like I'm the one to go up there and try to just be on stage and warm up and stuff like that. So I was trying to just like wait and be patient, and I was chatting with Paris like casually before that, and then I was like, okay. So then I went over to the stage and I just asserted myself, and I just asked the dancer on stage if I could come join her. I've actually done this once before, and the time that I did that before, I don't even ask her to get off the stage. I ask her if I can come up and join her, because I need to warm up, you know? So when I asked her before, she was like, oh no, you can just get on the stage. I'll just get off, whatever. She's like, I don't like to do doubles or whatever. So she did the same thing last night, but she wasn't rude about it or anything. She was just like, you know, okay, fine. But rather than have me come up there and join her, she just decided to get off the stage because, again, she just, I guess, didn't like to share the stage or whatever. So I got to go up there and warm up, and then I had Paris take the picture of me with the pom-poms, which those pictures, they're not awful, but again, they're just not, they're not like the ones from 2020. They're not like the ones from back in the day, you know, because I'm just in no condition. I'm just nowhere near where I used to be back then. I'd really want to try to get back there, but it just really doesn't seem worth the effort or the hassle or the suffering at this point, when I've done this so many times in the past, over and over and over and over, trying to get back to that kind of shape that I was in or have been in various stages throughout the years. And it's like, to this day, after years and 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 years of this, no regulars, no support, no real true sense of income, you know what I mean? No steady income. I still don't see this as a job or a career like I would want to, ideally. Ideally, I would want this to be a job and a career if I felt like I was able to actually make real steady income here in a way that I felt okay with, in a way that I felt comfortable with. That still to this day has not happened. I still have not found any guys that want to be my regulars or come in and support me on a regular basis, here in the club, online, otherwise, just at all. So, you know, it's like all of that hard work for me to push myself to the point where my body has rebelled, and now I'm bald, and now I have no eyebrows or eyelashes because of the dieting and exercise that I've done in the past, or I guess also maybe because of the allergy that I have to the smoke stuff here at the club. Maybe a combination. I'm not too sure because I don't have health insurance. And I can't afford to go to a doctor myself. So just going on guesses, it's like, you know, even with pushing myself that much to the extent of where I've had those results eventually, and now from that, basically all I really got out of that hard work was a few videos and many pictures that I can't even access now. I can't even access the pictures that I got from that. So it's like, what's really the point of me even trying? You know what I mean? It's like, even if I got back into that shape for spring or summer, later this year, it's just right back to this. It's another round of winter, and it's less than 50 degrees in my apartment. I can't afford heat. It's the wind chill the past few days. It's just been excruciating beyond belief. Like, you just can't put it into words. I know I can't anyways. I never could. Never could. So, but anyways, I was happy that we were at least able to get pictures, a few of them last night. And that was at the start of the shift. So again, I really didn't have time to like prepare or warm up before those pictures. And I just couldn't put into words the level of pain that I was in trying to hold that pose for Paris to get those pictures. And I mean, the pole is just so unbelievably slippery. Another effect of the smoke here that's used at this club, it's an oil-based product. So they're basically continually pumping oil into the air and coating the stripper pole here with oil. So they're just constantly coating the pole in oil all night long when that stuff is on. So that was all night Friday, all night Saturday, probably all night Thursday they were doing that. So yesterday on Sunday, that pole is still holding all that oil. So that's me trying to do that kind of thing on the oiled pole. So, and originally when Paris got those pictures, I could tell that she was taking them from an angle that would not be flattering for me. So I'm using everything that I have from head to toe in my body to hold that pose. And then I'm trying to like yell over the music down to her. I'm like, Paris, can so I have the pom-poms in my hand and I'm trying to like, as best I can, yell over the music to her and kind of point with my hand as best I can. Again, the pom-poms also in my hands, but I'm like, Paris, can you try to go over here to this side? Like, you know, like around and behind me over here to take the pictures. And so I was already holding the pose for her to try to take the pictures from the one angle, and I'm upside down, so I can't really see her. I don't really know exactly where she is taking these pictures. If I go too far upside down to the back, I'm afraid that my wigs are gonna fall off. With how cold it's been lately, I've been wearing 2 wigs rather than 1. So usually when I wear just the 1 wig, it's already difficult enough to make sure as best I can that it doesn't fall off. But when I have 2 wigs especially, it's a lot more difficult for me to keep them from falling off. Because the one on top tends to slide back especially. It's just extra difficult. So yeah. So I can't really see, and then it's like, the wigs are falling into my eyes as well, so I'm upside down. I can't really see where Paris is or what I'm doing. I'm trying to gauge where she might be as best I can. So eventually, after trying to hold that first pose for, you know, pretty much at least a minute, then I kind of get a feel for where I think she might be after calling out to her and hearing her call back over the music. So then I was like, all right, and tried to ask her to go over around to the other side, more behind me, which I knew would be a better angle, or wanted to think would be at least slightly less of an unflattering angle. So I just had to keep holding that pose for over a minute or 2 probably. I mean, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, theory of relativity, if anybody could feel how slippery that pole actually is, they would know what I'm talking about and why I harp on it as much as I do. It sounds like I'm being dramatic if you don't know. All you would have to do to understand, really, anybody, is just go feel the pole and you'd understand, or you should be able to. So anybody that would touch that pole for 2 seconds should be able to understand why I harp about this as much as I do. It literally feels like somebody takes a bottle of oil and rubs it all over the pole. That's exactly what it feels like to me. And I don't understand the biomechanics, the science, the chemistry, what's actually going on scientifically for that to happen. I just know that it's awful. Again, there's just no words that could really ever adequately even come close. So eventually, after a few minutes of that, I'm like, okay, that's enough for now. And that honestly took everything in me to just hold that pose as long as I felt like I was. But then later on in the night, I think I did that twice that night. So once was earlier on for the pictures. And then I did do that a second time later on in the night when there was actually people there, like other people, like customers and stuff. So that second time, the pole was even more slippery than the first time. And I wasn't wearing the kind of shoes that are like patent leather boots that'll kind of help to grip the pole at least a little bit. I was wearing more of like the open-toed, open heel, just like kind of platform slides. Actually, the shoes that I was wearing last night, one of them on the right side shoe doesn't even have a sole. It sounds so emo and goth, like it doesn't even have a sole anymore, but it doesn't. It doesn't have like that piece on top. The piece that was on top like peeled away, and now it's just the foam underneath. That's the entire base of the shoe now that my foot is sitting on or standing on. So yeah, the second time the pole was even more slippery, and I am not wearing my grippier type shoes. It was awful. And I just remember thinking before I did that, I was like, you know, this is going to be everything I have to do this one thing right now. So I was like, this will be my night. If I can do this one time right now, that'll be it for the rest of the night for me with the pole probably. And I'm going into this knowing what a bad idea it is and how stupid it is for me to be doing this. But I'm aware of it at least, and I'm taking responsibility. I'm acknowledging that and accepting that in that moment before I set out to do it. I'm like, I know this is not even by any means necessary, not even close, completely unnecessary. I know I acknowledge the risks that I'm taking, but I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna push myself. I'm still gonna be as careful as I can be every single microsecond throughout this experience, you know, because I have to be. I just don't understand how they get that pole that slippery. I mean, I know that the smoke is oil. I know that they're pumping oil into the air continuously on the weekends. I know that in a way explains it, but again, we clean the rubbing alcohol, or we clean the pole with rubbing alcohol in between sets. Like almost every single dancer cleans the pole with rubbing alcohol before they go on stage, or like right after they go on stage, like to start their set. So, and me too, like especially 9 times out of 10 when I go on the pole, for me to clean the pole, I don't just clean like the bottom half of it. I actually clean the entire thing to where I take a paper towel and I put rubbing alcohol. I soak the paper towel, well, not soak it, but I dampen the paper towel with the rubbing alcohol, and I fold it up in my hand, and I'll clean the bottom half, let it dry for a few seconds as best I can, and then I will climb to the top of the pole with the damp paper towel in my hand. So I have a wet paper towel in my hand as I'm climbing to the top of the pole. And again, usually like 8, 9 times out of 10, that's how I start my set. So even for me to just do that, to clean off the pole as best I can, that pretty much takes everything that I have before I even descend back down the pole to reclimb it again and then actually do the pole trick. So I'm pretty much completely spent before even trying to do the pole tricks, just after that first time up there to clean the pole as like the preliminary thing to do. So, and then it's like when I'm wearing my patent leather boots, I like them because they do help to grip the pole a bit with the material that they are, being patent leather and all. But also when I'm wearing shoes like that, a lot of times what I'll do to avoid having to climb that pole twice for that one pole trick or for that one time upside down in the pole, it's usually a series of pole tricks that I do. But rather than having to climb it once to clean it, go back down, and then get rid of the paper towel to put the wet paper towel in my backpack and then climb the pole again, rather than having to climb the pole twice like that before the pole tricks, if I'm wearing the boots, usually what I'll do, I'll climb to the top of the pole with the wet paper towel in my hand, and then when I'm at the top of the pole, or when I come back like maybe halfway back down to make sure I've really tried to clean off the entire pole from top to bottom with the wet paper towel, then I'll usually fold up the paper towel even more and slide it into the upper ankle part of my boot to kind of like hide it under the shoe and under my socks. So it's basically tucked into my shoe or my boots after that. So then, you know, I don't have to completely get off the pole, put it in my backpack and reclimb the pole all over again right there in that moment. But whereas like last night, I was just wearing my regular open-toed slide type of shoes. So there's really nowhere for me to put the paper towel when I'm wearing those shoes. I pretty much either have to just like throw it down onto the stage floor next to my backpack, which I think looks kind of messy and sloppy. So usually if I'm wearing shoes like that, I'll just suck it up and go back down the pole, put the wet paper towel in my backpack to, you know, tuck it away, get rid of it off the stage as best I can, so it's not just like out and messy looking. And then I'll have to reclimb the pole all over again before I do the pole trick. So after that, I'm just exhausted. But yeah, when I did that pom-pom trick on the pole yesterday, it was slippery to the point where again, just really no words. You could only understand if you've experienced it yourself. It's just one of those things, I guess. It's just, but I did it very, very poorly. You know, it really sucks to technically be able to do those pole tricks still to this day, to still be able to do that stuff, but just knowing also at the same time that if only that pole wasn't as slippery as it was, I would want to think I'd be able to actually do that stuff to the best of my ability or closer to that, rather than just like the worst version of it. Because again, that pole is so slippery that on a scale of 1 to 10, like of how well I feel I'm actually able to try to execute that stuff, it's at the very bottom end. It's at like pretty much the bare minimum level, to where I'm still so thankful just for not falling off and not getting hurt and technically being able to complete that move or those moves and those pole tricks like that. But yeah, it's still just at such a low level compared to where it used to be, but also where I want it to be and where I feel like I still could get it to be. I know that I'm still capable of doing that stuff in a better way, you know, on a higher level, just better. I know that I still have the ability, but there's no amount of ability that could make up for how slippery that pole is when it's like that. And thank gosh, it's not always like that. It's not always that bad. It's also like various levels, various extents and stages of how slippery it is. It's always slippery, pretty much. Almost always completely slippery. But sometimes worse than others. And yeah, it just so happens that last night when I was doing that, it was on the much higher end of how slippery it gets. I mean, it was slippery to the point where when I first started to try to climb it, I was already just sliding back down. Like, before I was doing the pole tricks, before I was taking out the pom-poms and doing stuff that way, just trying to climb the pole at all, I was barely able to climb it. I was like climbing a little and slipping, and it was just, but I still technically got up there. I still technically got to the top, just in a very sloppy, embarrassing way, because I know that it doesn't look good. I know that it's clear, it's very visibly clear to anybody watching that I'm struggling with that. But then again, it's like, well, how could I not be? Anybody that would feel how slippery that pole is would have to be able to understand why I'm barely able to climb it. They would, I want to think they'd be able to understand why I'm able to climb it, but I still don't see how anyone could possibly understand how it gets that slippery, how it gets that bad, unless somebody literally is coming up there with a bottle of oil and just pouring oil all over it, which I'm not seeing anybody doing that, but that's what it seems and what it feels like a lot of the time. So, and definitely last night, but hey, what are you gonna do sometimes? I mean, I'm trying to clean it off as best I can. Sometimes you can just only do so much, I guess, really. I don't know, but anyway, I do have good news. I want to try to say something positive right now, because I know that I tend to complain a lot. I feel like I have my reasons though. Like, if only anybody could actually like experience this stuff. You guys, I can't believe I just blew my nose into a random sock earlier. Like, I can believe it. I've done it before, I'll do it again, but like on camera, like come on. You guys, I was talking recently about how I had lost the spare key to my car. Guess what? I didn't find, but I kind of found. I got the spare key back last night, okay? So that made so many things so much better. Oh God. So let's see, a little bit of backstory for anybody that's watching that doesn't know from previous videos. So actually, you know what's funny? It was actually 1 week ago. It was last Monday that I first noticed this had happened. So exactly 1 week from today, at the end of last Monday's shift, so the very end of the night last Monday, it was the very, 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 very end of the shift. And that end of that Monday night shift in particular had been especially slow to where there was really nobody at the club for the last couple of hours. There was maybe like one customer, two maybe max, one that I can remember seeing, and then like 2 or 3 dancers max besides myself, possibly just 2 towards the very end. And they were like playing a card game like for a while. I was on stage stretching for the last like hour and a half of the night, I think it was. And part of that time when I was stretching on stage, my backpack was still technically right next to me, but for part of that time it was sort of behind me a little bit. And because I was up there just stretching for so long and this was the end of the night, I was especially tired, etc. I maybe wasn't paying as close of attention to my bag as I normally would. And I had put the spare key. I have no idea who that is that just drove by the way. Oh, I do know who that is, actually. I love her. Okay. It just clicked in a second ago. Someone just drove by, obviously. She's awesome. Yeah, I had clipped the spare key onto the outside of my backpack recently. And at the very end of Monday night last week, after all of that stretching, like an hour and a half of stretching on stage nonstop, I thought that I was like somewhat relaxed and loosened up after that. I mean, not really, but maybe slightly less tense than I would normally be after all that stretching. And literally directly after that, I look a little closer at my bag eventually, like doing other stuff, just like trying to get my stuff together. And I'm like, something doesn't look quite right here. And I noticed that the spare key for my car was no longer on the outside of my bag. The other part that was with it, like the thing to lock it, the thing to lock it and like the key tag, like the tag that has the vehicle information was still on there, but the key itself was not. And we had just gotten a foot of snow, I'm pretty sure like the night before that, very, very recently. So, I mean, winter besides is a terrible time to lose a key like that. With the part that went missing, it was literally just the one key, nothing else with it. It was one small key and one small key ring, which is right here. Nothing else to like help try to see it, for it to be more easily spotted. To me, trying to find that thing, granted, I don't really even go anywhere other than like 2 grocery stores and then my apartment and the strip club that I work at. But even with that being the case, and then with it being winter and the fact that we had just gotten a foot of snow recently, I was like trying to find that key would be like trying to find a needle in like 500,000 haystacks. Not just one haystack, but like a lot of them all put together, like an endless field of haystacks. I thought there was like a 99.99999% chance I was never going to see that key again. And I was like, I was trying to come up with like what I could do. I was like, should I just cover like the key, like the locking area to my car on the outside? Should I just cover that with gum? Or should I cover that with candle wax to try to make it more difficult for maybe somebody that came across that key to try to get into my car? Or I mean, I was just like going through endless scenarios in my head, like trying so hard not to think about it, trying so hard not to worry about it. But just the way that I am, I definitely was worrying about it. And I was just I was looking at it. I stopped at both grocery stores that I usually go to, and I asked them if they had found anything in the lost and found. They both said no. Um, I asked, it was actually kind of funny because I asked one of the managers last week about like possibly checking the cameras, and they didn't really give me a straight answer, but it was kind of weird because they said check back with me on Thursday. And then I don't usually work Thursdays. I usually work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If I can, I'm not always able to get all of those in a row like that, but that's usually what I've been trying to do lately when I am able to do it somehow, some way. So, I mean, Thursday, after those 4 10-hour shifts back to back like that, I would pretty much almost always be taking Thursday off. So he was like, check back with me on Thursday. And I was just like, in the moment, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really say much else. I just kind of, tried to let it go for that time. But last night, it was actually towards the end of last night as well. So after almost 10 hours of being here at the club, I had been pretty much ever since then, I've been obsessively coming out to the parking lot to check on my car. And the floor guys have obviously noticed me doing that because they're usually in the lobby. So they usually are standing right there and see me when I come out to the lobby to like try to look for my car through the door area, through the glass to see, when I can see it, because I do park very close to the front. So, and I did kind of try to like casually mention it to them so they would like, have more of a heads up and a feel for what I was doing and like why I was obsessively checking on my car like that. And I don't know, it was really weird because last night, one of the floor guys, granted, this was after he had seen me doing this like all night long. So he had seen me come out to the lobby to check on my car probably a good 10 to 15 times already throughout the night. And he hadn't said anything all those times. And then at the very end of the night, because I had mentioned I had mentioned this to him last week. So he knew that I was missing the key to my car from last week. And at the very end of the night last night, after seeing me check on my car all those times, he was like, oh, somebody did find a spare key, a spare car key the other day. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, they left it upstairs in the dressing room, on top of this little like electric box or whatever. And I was like, well, a part of me was thinking like, okay, that's great, but then why wouldn't they just bring it to the office, like to the lost and found in the office? Like, why would they just leave it in the dressing room where anyone could additionally take it? So I wasn't really too sure what to make of it. And I was just like, okay. But I also thought because then I asked him, I was like, well, when do you remember first seeing that? And he said Thursday. And it didn't click right away, but then later on I was thinking and I was like, Thursday. And I was like, wow, Thursday is the day that the manager told me to come check back with him. And I kind of just didn't even, it really honestly slipped my mind on Thursday because, yeah, Thursday is my day off. And I think on Thursday I had gone to Walmart instead and done like 2 videos here on my YouTube. So I was just, my mind was in other places on Thursday. I definitely needed a day off and a break from working at the club from doing the previous 10-hour shifts back to back the 4 nights before. So anyways, I was like, Thursday. Oh, wow, Thursday. And then I was like, well, this was obviously on Sunday, like I said. So I was like, well, gee, that's quite a few days before. And I was like, so they didn't bring it to the office. They just left it up there in the dressing room where anybody could take it. So I was really trying not to get my hopes up, but obviously I was still going to go at least look and check just to see. But then like 2 seconds after that, I was called on stage, which was really interesting timing because obviously I was trying not to get my hopes up, but I also wanted to just fly up the stairs as quickly as I could to at least check on it and get that out of the way. But then I was called to stage, so a part of me was like, well, should I just skip my stage and just go check on it now while I can, like as soon as I can? But I didn't want to be rude and I didn't want to be unprofessional. There was nobody at the stage, but then I was also thinking, well, if it was from Thursday, that's already been like quite a few days and nights from then until now. So what's another 10 minutes? You know what I mean? Although anything can happen in like a split second, really, technically. But anyways, I sucked it up as best I could. I did go on stage, but that was like some of the longest 2 songs of my life. Normally we do 3-song sets, so at least this time was only 2 songs. So at least it was 2 songs rather than 3, but they were still 2 very long songs. And I was just kind of like holding my breath the whole time, like not going on the pole. I just pretty much laid flat on my back and did a bunch of like twirling my legs around in the air, like floor work. Like I was just so tired at this point and so stressed out. And all I wanted to do was just rush upstairs to check on the key to see if it was there maybe. And I was like, there's no way. There is no way that thing could actually be there. And then I was like, no, the floor guy's just messing with me. He's just trying to like get my hopes up and then have me be like all upset and let down. I was like, he's just messing with me. He's just messing with me. Like, why would he do that? So, but I still had to go check. I had to at least go check on it. I wasn't just gonna not look. So I went upstairs. I opened the door up there. Literally directly in front of me, like dead ahead. It was right there. I'm looking and I see this key and I knew instantly it was my key. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, that was honestly that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I'm sure if given some time, if I really can like stop and put more thought into this, I'm sure, I really hope I can come up with something maybe a little better or more exciting than that. But off the top of my head right now, I feel like right now anyways, before I really think into this more, I really feel like there's a strong possibility that's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. Because for a whole week, for an entire week, all this time, I was just so anxious and so stressed out and so upset. And I was just thinking the chances of me ever seeing that key again are probably like, well, the chances of me not ever seeing that key ever again were probably 99.99999%. I was like, the tiniest little fraction of a percentage that I will ever see that key again is just so small. Like, I just kind of had to try to forget about it as best I could, put it out of my head as best I could. I had pretty much just given up on ever like trying to look for it or think about it. Like, I wasn't gonna bother to really look for it anymore. I was just trying my best not to think about it anymore. And when I saw it there, I just couldn't believe it. I was so thrilled. So I instantly took like this long string and wrapped it all around the key because I didn't want it to just be this one loose key with like nothing to help me see it anymore. So I took a long red colorful string and I wrapped it all around the key and like tied it on, and I put it in a special zippered part of my bag, a special secret, not a secret pocket, but a separate like secret, not secret, a separate section of my bag where it's all zippered up. Like, I hardly ever go in that part of my bag, but it's not like it could just like fall around like into like some random area in my backpack, like smushed around amongst a bunch of other stuff. It's in its own little zippered part right now, and it's gonna stay there. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna try to make sure and see that it stays there forever from now on. But this is why, you guys, apparently this is why, like, how like some things, I know I complain a lot and I'm like, oh well, some things are my fault and some things aren't, okay? Like, some things are not. But honestly, yes, of course, I do accept the responsibility. I do admit that some things are my fault. Yes, it's my own stupidity. Not everything though, not everything, but some things, yes. And I will try my best to acknowledge and admit when those things that I'm aware of being my fault. When I'm aware of it, I will try to admit it. I will try to accept it. I will try to take responsibility as best I can. In this case, yes, that was my own damn fault for losing that key. Because look at this. This apparently was what it was on. And I guess I'm just so stressed out and scatterbrained and ADHD and just rushing around all the time that I didn't even stop to think. I mean, I did. Honestly, I thought that I had put that key on the other part of the keyring that was like a better, more secure type of metal, like a better keyring. I don't understand how I missed this, but that, I guess that's just a great example. I don't know if great is the word, but that's an example, okay, of just how much I'm always rushing around and just scatterbrained. Like I can't believe that I really would have missed that or actually allowed that key to be on this kind of keyring. And I was joking to Paris later on that night. I was like, this keyring now feels like Lord of the Rings, where this is like the ring from Lord of the Rings where I have to like destroy this somehow. Like this, I'm very angry. I'm very upset with this keyring, and I feel like it needs to be destroyed in the fires of, well, I guess maybe Mount Doom isn't a real place or a real thing, but I like want this to be like incinerated or burned somewhere, or I have to make sure this is destroyed, because key rings like this should not be allowed to exist unless it's for some weird purpose, but not to actually try to keep a key secure on, because clearly this is not secure. And I can't believe I would ever allow a key of mine to be on anything like this. Like, how can I even allow this in my presence? This has to be destroyed. I have to figure out how to punish this thing. This something bad or something significant has to happen with this keyring. I have to do something with this that will teach both it and myself a lesson. I'm very upset with this keyring, you guys. But for right now, I'm just holding on to it in my crappy change purse where the zipper is broken. So this right now is held together by a rubber band. Although I will say I really do like and appreciate rubber bands. That floor guy that told me about the key, he was the same one that found this leg garter, this pink thing. I had misplaced that a few weeks or maybe a month ago, and that was missing for some days and nights. And then shortly after that, a few days and nights later, or like the following week, he's like, look what I found. And I was like, oh my gosh. So far, I guess that guy is like the king of finding things. Or I really don't understand how that whole thing happened with the key exactly. I just know that I'm very upset with myself. Like, that was definitely my fault, and I accept responsibility for it. I acknowledge it was my fault. I don't know. I have to do something better with myself. I have to figure something out to like not be the way that I am. I mean, I did at least put that spare key, like I said, in a special zippered compartment in my bag. I guess I'm just gonna like try to obsessively keep checking on it every day now, like kind of like with my meter back at for like the electricity meter at my apartment. I'm just gonna try to really be obsessed with it and like constantly checking on it. I don't know. But you know what? I'm happy it was found. I'm so grateful, so thankful. I'm amazed. It's like, that's one of the best things to ever happen to me in my entire life. I can't believe it. So yay, that's a good thing. All right, what else? Oh, I'm really tired. I only had 1 cup of coffee this morning. And I really can't breathe right now. Like, my nose is so stuffed up. I know it's bad as far as me being stuffed up when I'm just gonna grab a random sock and just blow my nose into this random sock on camera like that. Like, I'll do it again. themselves in a place like this. It's like you got, like, I noticed in a my nose is like dripping as well, and I'm like trying to dab the drips from my nose. But that's like a common thing around here in these parts with these temperatures and this kind of weather. And it's like, how do people just like see each other walking around, just drips dropping out the nose? You know what that reminds me of? That does something for me, and I want to breed myself with that person because something about it just really gets me going. And we should create more of ourselves for somebody else to get to experience what this feels like, so they can have nose drips too. I don't get it. Well, it's so windy. Holy crap. You guys might be able to actually hear that if I shut up for a minute. If I just stop talking for a moment. It's 3:30 on the dot. On my phone, anyway, it says. Let's check the timestamp. 77 minutes? Are you serious? Holy crap, 77 minutes. What have I been talking about? Honestly. Holy crap. Can you guys hear the flag? I'm parked next to the flag. It is so windy. It is so windy and so cold, but at least the sun is out for now and has been for a few days. We are supposed to get snow tomorrow. Oh, you guys, you know what? That reminds me, tomorrow is Paris's birthday. No, that's next week. Crap. Paris's birthday is the 17th, which is also Paris Hilton's birthday, I guess. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's the 10th. Okay, so, oh, thank gosh. Thank gosh. Okay, so I actually do have time to try to plan and prepare a little bit more. Paris's birthday is next Tuesday. So not tomorrow. For some reason, I thought it was tomorrow. I'm so stupid, you guys. We were talking about this last night, and even last night, I thought it was tomorrow, and I was like, oh no, Paris, like, we're supposed to get snow tomorrow. And I was like, are you working tomorrow? We're supposed to get snow tomorrow. And she was kind of looking at me a little funny, but I don't know if she realized like that I thought that her birthday was tomorrow and not next week. I know it's the 17th. I know that like that's the number. For whatever reason, I just thought that I'm tired, okay? Like I'm always tired. I don't know what to do though for her birthday because we have a big oven here at the club. So I'm like, should I try to bake her a cake here at the club? One of the old DJs that used to work here, I remember one time I saw him making creme brulee back in that kitchen, back in that oven area, to the point where he had like one of those little blowtorch type things. Not like a full blowtorch, but like what's the little tiny ones where it's like, he was like making creme brulee where he was like caramelizing the stuff on top, and it was like an entire oven full of like stuff. And this was so random. It seemed like one night, like he was working that night, or he was supposed to be, and just random. And I was of course on a diet at that time. And then I went out in the back of the kitchen, and like there's like this entire oven with like this huge tray full of like these little creme brulee things. And I'm like, it just seems so random at the time, because it was, I think it was, unless that was for somebody else's birthday back then, but I didn't really know whose at the time, or like I didn't hear anything about anybody's birthday at the time. I'm pretty sure it seemed like just some random thing that he was doing. But my point is there's a big ass oven back in the kitchen at the club. So I'm like, should I try to bake her a cake? Or I'm like the worst cook and the worst baker. I can't really do stuff like that, but I want to at least try to do something, but something that's not going to cost like money or like much money. I have outfits that I could bring in for her. I have like clothes I could bring. I don't know. I'm so bad at stuff. Anyways, okay, so one other thing that hopefully I'll be able to figure out something, and I have a week to think about it, so over a week technically right now, so hopefully I can come up with at least something. But oh god, I'm so tired. I really, some point later tonight, I really want to try to delete at least something from my phone, enough to where I can get some thumbnails, because I really want to be able to get thumbnails for my videos still, like I have been so far up until last night. It's just not the same without them. But also, so last night, the second time that I went on the pole last night to do the stuff with my pom-poms, my other pom-poms, the ones with the handles, my pom-poms, I love that word, or words, is it 2 words? Is pom-pom 1 word or 2 words, or it's 1 word repeated? Let's not go there, I'm too tired for that. Last night when I did that, the second time I did that was closer towards the end of the night. And like I had mentioned earlier, it's especially difficult for me to try to make sure that my wigs don't fall off when I'm wearing wigs, plural. So when I'm wearing the 2 wigs. Wearing 2 wigs, it's more difficult than when I'm wearing the 1. So especially like lately with how cold it's been, wearing 2 wigs, they want to just slide right off my head when I go upside down on the pole. So usually if I'm in the bathroom before I go on stage, I can make sure to try to yank them like extra tight over my ears and over as much of my head as I can, to where I don't want to jinx it, but so far they haven't fallen off for a while. But last night at a certain point, I was so worried about it and just so tired that sometimes what I've done in the past, up until the end of last night, it had been a while since I had gone as far as to do this, but I've done it before at certain times in the past, and I did end up doing it towards the end of last night. That second time that I went on the pole with the pom-poms, I will wrap this like this. I wrap it to where it catches on the back of the hair clip that I have, and it rests. It doesn't really rest, but it catches under my chin. So flattering, I know. But what I do is I take a hairbrush and I brush the pieces in front over the string. Okay. So I'm brushing the hairs in front as best I can to try to cover. So like this area right here in the front that's underneath and it's obvious, basically I try to brush these front pieces over the string. So I want to think it doesn't look as bad as it looks right now. But obviously anyone that really looks close enough could probably tell. But it is pretty close to flesh colored, and at least it's not like neon, not like a neon pink or a neon green to where it's gonna like really be obvious. It's more like a skin color, and it kind of blends in with my hair or my wigs a little bit, but for the most part I want to think. But so yeah, that's what I sometimes do when I'm really feeling anxious about it, like very uncomfortable, very tight around my fat face. Just kidding. Just kidding. Kind of, not really. It's very uncomfortable. Yes, that part, I'm not joking about that. It's very uncomfortable, but I have like various different ones on here. This is supposed to be a grip aid for the pole. It's called Dry Hands, I'm pretty sure. So I try to keep this on hand. I got it on Amazon, I think, in the past. They used to actually sell it here at the club back when they used to have a boutique, but that boutique stopped being a boutique years ago, shortly after 2020, I'm pretty sure, go figure. Oh, I can still feel that strap like on my chin. I can still feel it there, even though I just took it off. It's so uncomfortable. So yeah, we haven't had that boutique here at the club for a while, for quite a few years now, and I really miss it. I used to be able to get shoes in there. I used to be able to get outfits in there, and also that Dry Hands, but since they haven't had it anymore for a while, it's since been converted into an office. How awesome, how exciting. So lately I got that last bottle on Amazon. It does actually seem to make a difference, although there are times, like last night, where the pole's just so slippery that even that really doesn't do anything that much to really help. But also, I mean, even though I have that on hand just in case, and I have had that for a while, 9 times out of 10, I will just try to push myself to not use it anyways. I'll just try to stick with cleaning off the pole as best I can with the rubbing alcohol, because I guess I want to try to save that for, like, I don't know what or when exactly, but I'd rather have it on hand just in case for the future. Like most of my stuff, like I want to just preserve it and keep it on hand for the future. And I want to try to push myself to not need it and not use it as best I can up until then. But it's kind of weird because I remember when I was a kid, I was like that too. Like all of the stuff that I had that was like my favorite stuff, I would want to set aside and just keep nice and neat, just kind of like locked away in this little area. Not necessarily locked away, like literally locked up, but like in a drawer or in an area where it was like nice and neat and clean and contained and preserved, just preserved, to where I wanted to like save it for like a rainy day. Not a rainy day, but I wanted to just save it for another day, for the future. I wanted to like always have it forever and just never use it so I could never run out of it. Like I wanted to keep my favorite stuff where it was, how it was, nice, neat, new condition, just preserved. And a lot of that stuff, what ended up happening, it seems like, is eventually, like, my family moved around a lot when I was a kid. So I think a lot of times what would end up happening is it would go to the point where eventually we would just move and that stuff would end up getting lost, or for whatever other reasons, it ended up just kind of gradually getting lost throughout the years anyways, or I feel like a lot of it, I never ended up using at all. Like I held on to it so long, or I tried to put off using it so long that I never even did get around to using it at all. Well, you know how they say use it or lose it? It's like I tried to stop myself from using it because I wanted to try to hold on to it forever. So I used it so little that I did end up just losing it, because I don't know why exactly, but it's like I just never got around to using it. It's like I used it so little, it just up and disappeared, like poof, on its own one day, or I don't even know exactly. I remember being like that with my Beanie Babies as a kid. If anyone remembers Beanie Babies, if anybody's old enough to remember Beanie Babies. My favorite Beanie Babies I would keep tucked away in a closet, and they all had to be positioned and posed a certain way. Nice, neat, clean, as untouched as possible. those are my favorite ones that I would never play with. I would have like other ones that weren't my favorites that I would like take out and play with my younger brother, like take them on car trips, and like those would be the ones that I would play with to like kind of get messy and like roughed up. But my favorite ones could never go out. They had to stay in the closet, nice and neat, tucked away. And I think eventually what ended up happening is I just moved out of that place with the boyfriend that I had at the time, because that was like after I turned 18. We got an he had an apartment already, and I moved in with him after high school, or actually technically I was still in high school. It was my senior year of high school had just started, but I had turned 18 so early on into my senior year of high school that I just dropped out and moved in with him, and that didn't go very well, but that's another story for another time. And then the house that I had been in with my parents, where the Beanie Babies were, that ended up eventually shortly afterwards getting sold because my parents were getting divorced at that time. And so I honestly don't even know what happened to those Beanie Babies. The last I saw them, or can remember seeing them, they were in the closet, my closet there at that house. And then when my parents got divorced and moved, eventually I think they just probably got rid of most of the stuff that had still been in my room. Because, you know, I guess it probably wasn't very practical for me to try to, like, of all the stuff for me to make a point to bring with me, moving into an apartment with, at that age, you know, there was other stuff that was probably just seen as more practical to try to have on hand and bring with me. Whereas most of the stuff, like Beanie Babies and stuffed animals, and I mean, a lot of my clothes too, though, just ended up getting left behind and then eventually just thrown away or sold, or I don't really know exactly. It was a weird, rough time. But then also at that same time, I remember I had these lip glosses, these Simpson dessert lip glosses. I remember at this time, the Jessica Simpson, Nick Lachey Newlyweds show was a big thing on MTV. And she had come out with this dessert line of makeup products that were like edible makeup products or something, and flavored lip glosses. There were these little sparkle tubes of lip glosses called Dessert, was like the name brand of the makeup line. I remember I had a whole bunch of them, and I had this like little collection of like 5, 6, 7, like various tubes of them. I kept them all unused, like kind of just zipped up and put away in my dresser drawer. And I just wanted to keep them there. I didn't want to use them because I didn't want to run out. I didn't want to even just any of them. Like I maybe used like 1 or 2, and then the rest of them I just wanted to have kept on hand, untouched, unused, like so I could just have them forever and ever and ever. But so yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 of them I did use and then just run out of, but I had a good handful of other ones that I honestly can't remember what happened to them. I can't remember if they probably also, I'm assuming, just got thrown away with the rest of my stuff when my parents moved out of there, or I don't remember. I don't remember what happened to the rest of them. Maybe I did end up eventually using those ones too. Maybe eventually I did just say F it, and once the first tube or 2 was gone, maybe I did go into that other extra stash and just eventually, but I don't remember doing that. I very clearly remember having those extra various lip glosses, like most of them. I clearly remember putting those aside and never wanting to open them, never wanting to touch them. I wanted to keep them nice, neat, brand new, OCD level, like OCD satisfactory levels of just nice and neat and new and untouched and just pristine and perfect and blah, blah, blah. You know, you get the idea. So that I clearly remember. What I don't remember is what ended up happening to them after that, after the fact. I don't remember if I eventually just did get around to using them, or if they got lost or thrown away by somebody else when my parents were moving and divorcing and moving out of that house. I really don't remember. So I kind of try to think of that, like, should I try to see that as a lesson to myself now? Like, I kind of apply it to me, like, being so scared to spend money now. I'm like, I try to hold on to every cent that I can, like, cut costs at every corner. But it's like, that would really only be a smart thing to do if based on the assumption that I'm going to continue to survive into the future for a while. So obviously, I would want to have a little something set aside for whatever might happen in the future. And especially like COVID with 2020 really just shifted and altered my mindset more in that direction of like feeling like I need to hold on to every little thing that I can, salvage every little thing that I can, never being prepared or never knowing what's going to happen just around the corner, what could happen, what could come. Like, just really always feeling on edge. Like, I need to just save as much as I can, spend as little as I can, because you never know what could happen. And that kind of mentality, I kind of a little bit already had that mentality still carrying on before COVID, but then COVID took it to a level that I feel like I'll never recover from. I'll never like come back from that, where that brought me, like mentally and emotionally. But then it's like, well, technically I could also, anything could happen. And what if I were to like die tomorrow, or like even today, or what if I were to fall off the pole tonight? And just what about that stuff then? You know what I mean? Like me like not having the heat on in my apartment and suffering and suffering and suffering that way. And me trying to like save the best for last and like put all of my favorite stuff off to the side and not use it and try to keep that stuff new and unused. It's like, well, what if it's like that other stuff in the past and I just never get around to using it and it just goes to waste regardless? You know what I mean? Like, so I struggle with this stuff as well. I don't know how to look at it. I don't know what the wise thing to do would be. I feel like there's really, like, there's no way, there's no right answer. There's no way to win with this because, yeah, I don't know. I want to try to enjoy the present moments and have a decent quality of life to where I'm not forcing myself to suffer unnecessarily. Like, maybe I could spend a little extra to have the heat on, or maybe I could spend a little extra for healthier foods, not always trying to find the cheapest version of everything, or not trying to cut corners and cut costs in every way that I can. Like, maybe I could treat myself to this now and again, but it's like, maybe I could get new shoes for the club finally again after all this time. Like, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. But it's like, especially after 2020, I'm just like, well, what if I were to spend this for stuff on the club and then the club closes again? Or what if this happens again? Like, what if this were to happen? Or what if that were to happen? And then that's just wasted money. What if I were to try to invest in this? Even all the stuff that I have at my apartment now, like, if I'm no longer, like, if something were to happen with my situation at my apartment, what's going to happen to all that stuff that I've invested in, or that I wanted to try to think that I was investing in? But really, most of that stuff I probably shouldn't have gotten or spent the money on unless I was going to be like in a more permanent type of residence, like a house. Or because like from here, from my apartment, where is that stuff going to end up? What am I going to do with it if I were to have to move? Like, I don't think I could afford to put it in storage, or I wouldn't really want to have to bother through all of that hassle anyways. Would I be able to sell it? Would I even know how to try to sell it? Like, I don't know. I really struggle with material things. I've always, looking back especially, like, I realized like all my life I've always really, really struggled with material things and with my attachment to material things. But I don't really think that's necessarily just like a spiritual issue or like a spiritual character flaw, because in so many ways material things are so often necessary for survival as well. Like, maybe not in the sense like, oh, I don't need the newest, flashiest car. I don't need the newest, flashiest designer bag or designer clothes. I don't care about stuff like that. But I do care about, like, the clothes that I have even though they're not designer, I still care about the clothes that I have because I need to clothe myself, especially in winter. I need winter clothes for survival. Like with food, like technically that's a material thing too. You could even say that I'm pretty much a material thing. Like, but I need food for survival. Like, I don't want to care about my car so much because it's a material thing, but I also need my car for survival. Maybe not as literally as I need food and shelter for survival, but I see my car as a form of shelter because it is. So, yeah, again, like, I don't want to be so wrapped up and caught up in stuff, like material things. And not all of material things are as important for survival as other things. So there's like a spectrum. Like my Beanie Babies weren't necessary for survival. My Jessica Simpson lip glosses were not necessary for survival. They were examples of material things that are, again, not necessary for survival. But there's so many material things that are necessary for survival, like food, like water, like shelter. So, but is water a material thing or is it a natural thing of the earth? Or if it's being processed and filtered, does being like a bottle of water, is a bottle of water a material thing because it's been processed and filtered and put into a plastic bottle? Water is a natural substance. Water is a natural thing of the earth. So if we're talking about water in the general sense, is that a material thing or is that just a natural thing, like a natural part of nature? But then, yeah, if you're to filter it, process it, put it into a plastic bottle, what about that? Is that still a natural thing or is that now a more of a material thing because it's in a plastic bottle? Do you get where I'm going with that? Anybody? I'm not so sure I really do myself. I mean, I do, kind of, but also I have to go sign in for work in 5 minutes. So now I'm kind of like not able to follow up with my own thought process as much because I'm like getting anxious and distracted about having to go sign in for work. But yeah, like I've always struggled with material stuff and my attachment to that stuff. But again, a lot of that stuff could be considered as pretty necessary for survival in various ways and to varying different extents. But one way or another, there are a lot of things that could be considered materialistic things that even if they're not 100% necessary for survival, which a lot of stuff probably is, but even the stuff that's not 100% necessary for survival, it could be still beneficial or useful or practical or applied to survival matters still, regardless. So I feel like that's a big part of why I'm so attached to material things, because I'm a survivor. I have a survivalist type of mentality, and I've been through a lot already so far, and I continue to go through a lot of stuff and struggle with a lot of stuff to where I'm very survival oriented and survival minded, to where I do want to live and I do want to survive and I do want to do things. I do have goals, I do have dreams and aspirations, and I know that I need certain things to be able to continue to survive, to try to do that stuff and accomplish that stuff. And anyway, yeah, I could go on and on because I really do struggle with a lot of things, with a lot of stuff. Rather suffery type of soul, I guess you could say. Oh, is my favorite parking spot available right now? Or I have to go sign in, but all right. I only have a few minutes before I have to go sign in. So I am going to wrap this up for now. The timestamp is 104. It just went on to 104 minutes exactly. So 104 minutes. I'm going to try to make a mental note of that and write it down later. Hopefully I'll be able to get some thumbnails on these videos at some point, maybe later tonight or as soon as possible. I'm hopefully going to be able to try to come out tomorrow. We are supposed to get a bit of snow, so I'm not too sure how that's going to go, but I am going to still try my best to come out tomorrow if I can. And sooner or later, until then, I'm going to sign off for now and hope you guys are well, and thanks for watching. Peace out for now, guys. 3 viewers, just like yesterday. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now. Oh, and I also have 3 minutes before I have to sign in. It's about to be 2, though, so I better get going. Okay. Oh, now it's 2. Okay. Bye for now, guys. Peace out for now.